Hi, and welcome to PLAB 2 Prep Bites. My name is Kalsoom, and PLAB 2 Prep Bites is all about giving you short, to the point, actionable advice on how you can improve your performance in the PLAB 2 test. So before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and do let me know what you're finding challenging at the moment when it comes to your preparation for PLAB 2. Let me know so then I can do a prep bite video for you as well. So my name is Kalsoom, and I train doctors and nurses to pass their IELTS and OET. And obviously I train doctors to improve their English and communication skills for the PLAB 2 test. Now, this video is all about how to deal with a consultation where instead of the patient turning up, a relative or a friend or a neighbor, a spouse, someone other than the patient turns up for their appointment. How do you deal with this? How do you communicate with them? What can you say? What can't you say? What shouldn't you say? And ultimately, how can you score well? How should you manage this whole situation? So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. So, like I said, somebody other than the patient turns up. So who could this be? This could be the son, the daughter, a sibling, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague, a spouse, anyone other than the patient. It could be, so anybody other than the patient, basically. So what should you do? How should you manage all of this? How should you deal with this? So you need to establish a few things. So obviously you would welcome the relative. You wouldn't be like, oh, you're not the patient. You shouldn't be here. Obviously this person has come with regard to the patient. So, you would welcome them in exactly the same way as you would the patient. You do the similar kind of introductions, and you would need to establish a few things right from the beginning. And, those being, where is the patient, basically? Where are they right now? Are they okay? Is there a reason why they couldn't come today? Are they unwell? Are they reluctant to come? Establish what the issue is. Why didn't they come? Was there an issue that they're not willing to discuss? What is going on there? Does the patient actually know that this relative, say for the purposes of this video, we're talking about the son, the patient is the father. Does the father know that the son has come here today to speak to you? Excuse me. And what does the son know about the situation? What has the father discussed with the son about his problems, about what's going on? What has the dialogue been, before the son coming to the appointment? So you would need to establish all of these things. And, this would form part of your data gathering. So, looking at the bottom here, you would still need to go through and focus on the 3 domains. So the data gathering, you would need to gather all the data, what is going on with the patient, what is going on with the son, what's going on with the father, and what's going on with the son. So you would need to do the same, the same steps of questioning, going through the psychological aspects, the social aspect, do they live together? What is their relationship like? Excuse me. ICE, you would still need to go through ICE. What is the clinical situation? What medicines? Are there any problems with the medicines and things like that? And with the ICE, you need to realize that you're not just doing ICE for the patient. In this situation, you're actually looking at the son as well, this relative. You have to do the similar kind of questioning with regards to ICE for the son as well as the father. So you have to be very aware of, you are now dealing with two people rather than just one. And to understand the situation fully and to gather that data fully, you need to ask all the appropriate questions for both the patient and the relative. So that would form part of your data gathering, and then you would go into the management and the interpersonal. So with regards to the interpersonal, obviously, how would you deal with that? Excuse me. Well, obviously, say for example, you had, the father suffered from dementia, and the dementia is slowly getting worse. And the son is the carer and looks after the father at home. Perhaps it's becoming increasingly difficult for the son to manage. Perhaps he's working as well, and he's not able to go to his work. It's impacting on him as well as the father. So there's probably a lot going on there. And so obviously the son needs more help, more support. So you would show, as part of the interpersonal aspect, you would have to show that empathy to the relative, to the son. And that would have to run throughout the consultation. So the interpersonal runs throughout the consultation. And then with the management, how would you manage this situation? Well, anything that is brought to light, comes to light during the consultation, you would have to manage that. So for example, if there is an issue with the dementia, it's getting worse. Perhaps the father is now more prone to falling over, to having falls, and is more, less and less mobile. So there are certain things that need to be put into place to manage that situation. So more care is needed within the home. So you would then manage that situation. And when it comes to confidentiality, I think that's where people doctors in this situation really kind of lose marks. They see that the actual patient hasn't turned up to the consultation, it's a relative. The first thing that comes into their mind is, right, confidentiality. I cannot speak to this relative about anything to do with the medical records. So that would be like the first thing that they would say to the relative. They'd be say, okay, so just so you know, I can't talk about anything to do with the medical records. I don't have permission. Now, the reason why that's not a good idea is because if you're saying it first off, I can't discuss anything with you, you're cutting off the relative from discussing anything. You're kind of blocking any discussion, any conversation, and this creates the wrong tone. The son could have vital information that could have a huge impact on the patient and his care. And because you've created this kind of tone of like, right, there's only I can't talk about everything with you about the patient. So, kind of, what do you want? It doesn't create a very nice atmosphere. I remember, with the interpersonal, you have to make the patient feel like they are free and open and comfortable to talk to you. So you have to create that environment. And I think saying that right at the beginning, before it even becomes an issue, is not a good idea. So what should you do? So my advice to doctors is, go through the data gathering, go through the same process, ask the questions that I spoke about at the beginning, where is the patient? Are they okay? Do they know you're here? And all of that, those types of questions. And then let the issue of confidentiality come naturally into the conversation. So, for example, while you're data gathering, perhaps the son says to you, okay, my father had an X-ray, a chest X-ray 2 weeks ago. We've not had the results for that. Could you just tell me what the results are? or, it could be a blood test, it could be another kind of test, anything. It's brought up naturally in the conversation. So then you could then say, well, actually, I can see from Mr. X's medical notes, or your father's medical notes, that I'm not actually authorized to discuss it with you. Do you have anything from your father that allows me to discuss it with you? So, for example, a signed letter, or perhaps I could give him a call and ask him if he doesn't mind me speaking to you, if he gives me permission to speak to you about the medical records. So you can see it's more natural, it's not creating a hostile tone in the conversation. And it's part of the discussion. So it's a lot more natural, and it's a lot nicer. So from that point, then, if the answer is yes, then right, you've got the go ahead. If the answer is no, then what do you do? So then you would have to explain that, so unfortunately, until I get the go ahead from your father, I'm not going to be able to discuss anything from the medical notes with you. However, I would really like to discuss anything you're concerned about and, see how we can manage the situation. So what this does is that you're clearly setting the boundary that, you're not able to discuss anything on the medical notes. However, you are ready to listen and ready to help with anything else the relative has to say and, has come to see you about, is concerned about. So it still opens up that conversation. It leaves that conversation open. So this is how I would deal with the confidentiality issue. Other than that, what else can you say, and how can you say it? So remember, these prep bites and, my training when it comes to PLAB 2 is all about helping you to communicate better, how to improve your English, to communicate better in these consultations, and how to structure your consultations in a more logical way, something that the examiners want to see. So remember, you need to say things like, how are you related? So you need to establish that relationship with the patient. Is there any particular reason that your father couldn't attend today? Do they know that you're here on their behalf, or are they aware that you are here on their behalf? Then you need to establish where they are at the moment. So are they at home? Are they at work? Are they at school? Are they unwell? And when it comes to empathy, so going back to the interpersonal, going back to the dementia and the father and son scenario, and the son is struggling with keeping up with his own work, his job perhaps, his family as well maybe, and looking after his father, you could say, this must be really difficult to manage. How are you coping? Or if I was in your position, I would feel the same way too. So, these are ways that you can show empathy and, build that relationship, that rapport with the relative, which is very important. And you would do the same, obviously, with the patient as well, if the patient was in front of you. And there are lots of other possible scenarios that come under relative consultations or third-party consultations. And I cover all of those different scenarios in my PLAB 2 training course. So if you're interested in joining my course, this year it's starting in September 2024. So if you're interested in joining that, I'll only be taking 8 students, 8 doctors. So if you're interested in starting that with me, drop me an email and I'll send you some further details. Similarly, if there's something else that you're struggling with, finding challenging in your PLAB 2 preparation, let me know and I'll do another prep bite video for that as well. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share this video with other colleagues that may also benefit from it, and I'll see you in the next video.